Welcome back to the Butter Bunch. My name is Jacob Butter, and I am alone today. And that confuses me somewhat, only because it seems, Aiden, as usual, hasn't messaged anything in particular. But actually, BB has been having a few internet issues that seem to have been resolved yesterday. So I said, I said, okay, so shall we do Wayward Guide takes? I wanted to do the Wayward Guide finale with, everyone here, assuming that Aiden, presented himself or whatever. And yeah, she said definitely. But now, after sending the link, oh wait, no, it seems that she's back online. Because I was about to say she went offline fairly quickly as soon as the link was posted. So she might be having difficulties right now. But I'm guessing she's trying to work on being here. So for now, I'm going to get started with the podcast because we have the chapter 9, episode 10, and the epilogue to get through today. So yeah, in order to finalize everything properly, we really need to crack on. So yeah, Aiden doesn't usually care about this part. Hopefully he will notice as time goes by that we are doing this. We'll see. But for now, without further ado, on with the review.
The final chapter.
All endings are arbitrary. A neatly resolved 3-act narrative is designed to conclude by teaching us a lesson or imparting meaning, conjuring catharsis. The good folks prevail, the baddies are punished, and the hero rides into the sunset having conquered the monster.
It's sometimes a red flag for me when series do this or movies do this, where it's just like, what was that one movie that opens up with like, a black screen? All important movies end with begin with a black screen or something, and then ends with like a white screen or what was white screen, blah 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 blah, something like that. It's like, I get what you're trying to do here, but actively pointing out these techniques makes you sound more important than you supposedly are. So I'm very skeptical when it comes to stuff like that.
And even if we appear to, it's never quite as satisfying as one would hope.
Oh yeah, Lego Batman.
The tales
that makes sense.
of our lives are messy.
Yeah, that completely tracks. Yeah, I actually watched that on my birthday. It makes sense just why I remembered it. But yeah, I mean, if that's the case, and that movie was trying to sound more important than it actually was, that was the whole point. So that one gets a pass.
The tales of our lives are messy and full of loose threads that we ultimately just have to snip or tuck away so they don't drive us mad. Time is fluid. It's an ever-flowing stream. And when we piece together a story, we're only just panning a bit of water from the stream to see what we can find.
This is true, though. They say start your stories as late as possible and end them as early as possible. Always if you're always wanting more. And I guess, in the vastness of the stream, what is there, a fish that lives all of its life in the stream. Cannot imagine the ocean, said Jong the deserter. Anyway.
See what we can find. Metal and minerals, sticks and stones. We can assign them milestones like beginning, middle, and end, but when the sediment eventually returns to the stream, it all washes together once more. This is our last episode about our time in Connor Creek, so we'll try to lay out everything we know and tie it together as best we can. But like life, if you're looking for a nice tidy ending, you're not going to find one here.
No, that's what the epilogue is for, I assume. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is absolutely what I intend to do, by the way. Epilogue, final show episode, and final show episode, then epilogue, like you say here.
From the American Podcasting Network, this is the Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. I'm Artemis Shue-Horyn.
And I wrote 50% of that appalling intro. I'm Paul Shue-Horyn.
It was pretty bleak, huh?
Yeah, just a touch.
I hope we don't get a bunch of angry hate mail after this whole story airs.
Oh, Artie.
Hate
of
mail?
course we're gonna get angry emails. But like I said back in Chapter 3, it's about the journey, not the destination.
And our journey in Connor Creek ended at the Minor Mole offices.
We thought we made sense of the town's werewolf conundrum by connecting the killings directly to Silas Torsen.
Oh yeah, this is the part where they're really going to have to address, what exactly are they going to report here?
Directly to Silas Torsen. But when we arrived, Silas, like the previous victims, had already been gruesomely murdered. And sadly, he wasn't the only casualty that night.
In the lobby of Minor Mole lay 3 more mutilated bodies: Rocky, Cliff, and Shue-Horyns.
Now, I know everyone is listening to this true crime story like it's pulpy and full of kooky characters, but those were real people with real lives. Jewel was only 16 years old.
It's unclear if the
It is a good reminder to have, actually, considering that these are very much kooky characters, 100%.
It's unclear if the Irons family were targeted in the same way Silas was, or merely innocent victims unfortunately placed in the killer's path. After
Aren't all the people in the killer's path innocent victims? Give or take Silas Torson, I
the night
guess.
passed in a blur, questioning, autopsies, and confusion. And despite our efforts to crack the case, it turned out that our conclusions were just a fraction of the larger story. The full truth of that night's events seemed to die with Silas. But as the investigation wrapped over the
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. What were they? Were they going to say anything in particular about the werewolf stuff? Seems like they themselves have become part of a conspiracy now.
able to obtain a few answers that shed light on the true villain of this story.
In true corporate criminal fashion, Silas had actually bugged his own office. This way he had collateral in case he needed to drag his corroborators down with him.
I like how he complained about them recording him. They said that agreed to be off the record and such, and I guess he had a record as well.
Corroborators down with him. These tapes provided hours of damning evidence detailing extortion, bribery, and an all-around lack of moral character.
I guess we were right about a few things.
Okay, listen, Frankie. Can I call you Frankie? All right, Frankie. Look, I know you're about to turn in the Q3 reports to the board of directors, but before you do, you should know that I may have told them that everything is on track a little prematurely. That's because it would be on track. If the council here wasn't up my ass with regulations, I was just thinking it would be such a shame, if, for your reports to paint this grim and gloomy picture when that's all going to be.
Yeah, it would be a shame to my mistake here. You could very much pin on me with this, with this phone call. Anyways, oh, BB's here. Hello. Can't hear you. Sorry.
Grim and gloomy picture when that's all going to be behind us so very soon.
I don't think I should.
I get it. Yeah, but, Frankie, I just have one more question. Have you ever seen Pitbull live? Here's the thing, Bart.
I haven't seen much evidence of Pitbull doing much of anything, to be honest. I've only just heard his music and seen people parody him, to be honest.
Ad for the next 3 weeks. There is no dollar amount I could give you that's comparable to all the business our expansion is going to bring you.
Butterbun.
Those aren't my...
There we go. She said the thing.
Christ's sake. Dude, my computer was running so fucking slow, and I thought it was the internet. So I ended up just restarting my PC at a certain point. But...
Oh, well, I guess that's the end of that story. My guess about the end of that story would be is that if the internet was not running slowly and there was the PC itself, then the PC also had a slow startup. That's just my assumption right now. We'll see when BB gets a voice back again for the second time.
No more excuses, Fletcher. 3 weeks.
This Reynolds kid has been picking it out front every day this week. Can you make him go away now?
Let him wave his little signs and chant his slogans. I'll take care of him when we're closer to election day. Patience.
I do love the point of like, oh yeah, when we're closer to election day, I'll start campaigning seriously. That's some confidence right there.
You sure know how to blue ball a man, Hensley. Truth be told, I got a kink for that sort of thing. So if we're talking next steps for this partnership...
We had no idea that in addition to supporting Truman as a candidate, Silas had recruited her to do his dirty work.
I would have never pegged her as
I guess this was an instance where we thought her bark was worse than her bite. But her bite was, in fact, fatal.
Yeah, I do like how they're saying it without saying it. Because, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Hell yeah! The Torchmeister wins again.
Although now that I think about it, if he bugged his own office, they would have evidence of the werewolf transformation that occurred inside. Or at least of her growling or something, I don't know.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Excuse me, I think you still owe me a proper thank you. Because you haven't done anything. I was the one who secured your permits and silenced another member of the opposition.
The mailman? Shit, Truman, don't you think that was overkill? I mean, it literally was overkill. But you know what? It's time.
Test.
Let's call off.
I heard test.
Oh, thank fuck. I can't. God damn it. It's crazy. Guys, Jacob asked me earlier, oh, since your internet's back up, can you join? I said yes. And you know what? I was so confident. I was so goddamn sure. And now, like 30 minutes before stream, my computer decides to shit itself, and I don't know why.
And yet, as usual, Aiden is the one who's not here.
The dogs.
Cute. Now let's codify next steps. I have some ideas on the future of our working relationship.
These incriminating calls connected Truman to nearly every murder in the town, including Silas's. For those where a direct connection can't be made, the evidence leans strongly in favor of her guilt.
It seemed like her intentions lined up with Silas. Take control of the town council to free up the mining restrictions. But after winning the election, they seemed to deviate. It was clear to us that with her new office and expanded power, Truman was now pulling the strings.
Also clear, Truman was the werewolf.
Well, in a way.
Okay, so they actually... Well, I guess Paul directly said it. I guess Artemis going to pull from a certain point of view or something.
At the end of our visit, it became apparent that there never was an actual werewolf, much to Paul's disappointment.
Much to my relief, honestly. I've seen enough monsters to last me a lifetime.
Truman had turned the townsfolk against each other through manufactured werewolf hysteria and by manipulating their fear.
Well, and farm.
Which is honestly what I kind of thought it was going to be the reason behind everything, to be honest. It's kind of like in Life of Pi, where he tells like the alternative story that could sell to the news rather than the one with the tiger, and you have to, and there's an open ending. It's like which one is the real story or something. Which one's more interesting. It's like I always go back and forth on whether that was a good idea to do in the first place. Because if you believe the version that he tells the press, then most of the story was essentially pointless. But whatever.
And by manipulating their fear.
Well, and pharmaceuticals.
The sheriff's office of Connor Creek, I guess that's just me, can confirm that we discovered complete blueprints of our town's irrigation and water filtration system at Truman Campaign Headquarters. Which indicates that, Truman had been tampering with the town's water supply.
Wow. Okay. And what about the LSD before?
Yes. What?
Yes, LSD was present in large amounts at our campaign headquarters. Yes, it was.
I don't know enough about the effects of LSD specifically in order to determine exactly if everything lines up. I do know that hallucinations are a huge part of it. I guess werewolf hysteria on top of that would kind of like align those potentially. I say as if I have any clue about the stuff, which I don't.
We are unable to comment further at this time about this ongoing investigation. Sorry.
Truman had been releasing potent psychedelics into Connor Creek's water supply the whole time, which totally sounds like something out of my favorite movie, Detective Dark Begins. She was trying to control the werewolf.
It's not even the Dark Knight parody. It's the Dark Knight Rises parody that's the one that he likes. Okay, sure.
By increasing the dosages at calculated intervals.
And it worked. The staged murders, the suggestion of werewolves, and the ongoing drug exposure turned Connor Creek into a cauldron of fear and aggression.
Aside from the horrific loss of life and permanent scars inflicted on the town, it's honestly the most punk rock thing I've ever seen in my life.
Really, Paul?
I'm kidding! This episode has been so morbid so far.
That is true. I mean, honestly, I think people have noticed this when it comes to our Stark interviews specifically, where when the reactions get like so bleak, in comparison to the other moments, that's when I start like cranking out the jokes far more. It happened a lot in Cinderella's Castle specifically, but even like a lot of the Hatchetfield stuff as well, where it's just like, I mean, everyone's already depressed enough. Let's lighten the mood a little bit for our chats at the very least, and probably for ourselves, quite frankly.
So far.
Oh yeah, the toxicology reports indicates
One
lots
more
of
shot.
drugs, 100% or 0.001%. Who cares? This is
I mean, I guess 0.01% of the water contents could have been the drugs. And all right,
you know what I mean? We like to party in Connor Creek, but not me. No, not me. I gotta stay sober, especially when I'm on the crock. You gotta say no to drugs, kids.
I guess it says on the crock.
Come on, say it with me now. No to drugs. Booze is not a drug, right?
It technically is, actually.
Booze is not a drug, right?
With all this shocking
My name is Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am a proud graduate of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm an alcoholic. Which, incidentally, I think might be next week's review. Again, if we're all here, because I kind of want both of these two to be able to see that one. I think that's the one in the order. I might be skipping one. I will check before next week. And again, I actually, to be honest, like, considering that that my time at the secondary school that I was working in is officially over and unofficially still going on. Depends on whether or not I'll be able to do something next week. But if we're all around, that will be potentially. Again, gotta check. Anyway, the chat likes being depressed. That's a paradox right there. Although then again, that was essentially what like child me decided to do, to be a contrarian. But
She could have employed. Why werewolves?
Think about it. There's nothing scarier than your neighbor, someone you interact with daily, maybe even someone you love and respect, secretly having a dark side.
I guess they themselves thinking they have this dark side might also be a scary thing in of itself. You'd have to ask Paul about that.
As the light of the moon, they can turn into an uncontrollable monster and attack you.
There was also poetic justice in it all, seeing as Connor Creek's own mythos was populated with stories of werewolves. The seed of belief was there to begin with, buried deep in the locals' hearts and minds. And Truman merely...
I'm guessing that's why that's why I think the hallucinations aligned themselves rather than whatever else was going on.
Hearts and minds. And Truman merely created the conditions for the monsters to manifest.
But even beyond that, why was Truman hellbent on dividing and dismantling this peaceful town? Why did she arrange such a Machiavellian scheme to wreak this chaos?
Before we answer that question, I am going to make one comparison, actually. There's obviously many adaptations of The Hound of the Baskervilles, the Sherlock Holmes story. If we're talking specifically about the BBC Sherlock version, a little bit of, I guess, spoilers of BBC Sherlock. I think they've renamed it to like The Hound of Baskerville specifically, because that was like the name of the base that it originated from and whatnot. How they modernized it. Like that was the time that that was the first time that Sherlock decided that he couldn't trust his own senses, which is bizarre considering his his history of drug use before. But I guess that was self-inflicted. I don't know. But yeah, he goes into like this whole episode essentially about trying to figure out what exactly is going on, or at least appearing to have done so. He then kind of figures it out and then doesn't tell people till the end because he wants to test it on John and etc. Whole issues there. But for a while it was like, what actually is the reality here? What is the proper answer? It's kind of like with Scooby-Doo, where it's like, okay, that the monsters aren't real in most realities. How exactly did this ruse get carried out? Which is, I never thought I'd be comparing Sherlock Holmes and Scooby-Doo, but there you go. Same genre, I suppose. So yeah, it's interesting that like this again is a solution that has been well, I'd say proven to work. A lot of people don't like this is made in BBC Sherlock. It has been proven to be successful. Let's put it that way. Okay, now we'll get on to Truman's motivations. Oh, or not.
Yeah,
Right.
I never watched the BBC Sherlock, but there was a similar plot line in the one Sherlock show that I do know a decent amount about, House. So
Okay.
it did get carried over a little bit in there too.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which, if you didn't know that, chat, by the way, House is a Sherlock show. It was
from a certain point of view.
No, like it was literally made to be a Sherlock show. That is the point.
No, I understand that, but like, but a Sherlock show, to be a proper Sherlock show, you would have to have Sherlock, is what I mean. Like, yes, obviously House is modeled off of Sherlock, but it's kind of like saying, based on a true story equals true story. It's the kind of the same. There's a degree of separation in there, but the inspiration is definitely there.
I mean, I guess they just straight up adapted some. Like Wilson is his best friend. They didn't bother changing his name. I don't know why.
Well, they changed a couple of letters. They changed two letters, in fact, 2 whole letters.
A world of difference, truly.
Like I said, the inspiration is very obvious, but go from one thing to another.
Yeah, but for it to be an inspiration, I like the people that made the show have explicitly said it was meant to be like designed as a Sherlock show. At that point, it's not so much an inspiration as it is just kind of a reboot.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think legally they can't officially confirm that, but I don't know. Actually,
well, they can. Sherlock's public domain.
Yeah, I think some of the aspects of his design apparently aren't, but he himself is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Although then again, I guess in terms of changing letters around house homes. Anyway, same thing. What was I saying before? Oh yes, actually, coincidence about that. One of the things that I've been watching for the past week that I sometimes go back to every now and then is real doctors reacting to House, and
I watched Dr. Mike on that one.
Yes, he is included in there. I watched Dr. Mike, Dr. ER, and Jess the MD. And Jess the MD, the 2-parter that I watched pretty much before this stream, I'm pretty sure was the exact thing you're mentioning. If you're trying to into the 2 parts episode where he gets hit by a bus, he's trying to solve a medical case because that's exactly what he does. While he's concussed, then is when he got that in that case he can't trust his own senses there, and no one else does. But they just kind of.
Oh no, I mean, like this was a big plot point for a lot of the show. After I want to say the 2nd season, House's massive drug addiction to Vicodin and a little bit of things mixed.
Oh, you're referring to that. Sorry, I thought you were referring to
neglecting.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I thought you were referring to just the Hound of the Baskervilles specifically. I thought not like the overall drug use thing that I mentioned in passing. Okay. In that case, yes, that is a very consistent thing throughout, and I knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, the drug use and like hallucinations and everything. He was
Yeah, on the Dr. Mike grind. Yeah, I honestly got back on the Dr. Mike grind after I misquoted him on Mrs. Vaculta episode 3. And I was like, I need to make up for this somehow.
Dr. Mike is good, to be fair.
Yes, which is why misquoting him is even worse. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I haven't enjoyed, getting back on the grind because I wouldn't have done so otherwise. But yeah, that was the reason behind it initially.
Yeah, I will say I don't love necessarily how many, because like the doctors watching like doctor shows is fine for most things because most doctor shows have the doctor stuff as the main thing, but that's not really the case for House. So it's always mildly annoying whenever they're focusing on just that, and obviously they would, but also it's like, yeah, but also
obviously they would.
I don't like,
like I don't think any of them have denounced the show as a show. Like if they outline directly, they're focused on the medical accuracy. They're not tricking anyone into believing that the show is bad as a result of these different things they're mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, I never said they did. I just mean more so that, like, Grey's Anatomy, for instance, is a medical drama first and foremost. But House uses, like, the medical drama kind of just as a vehicle for all of the other stuff.
Okay. So, what's your point here? Like, that's exactly what I said before. They don't focus on that. They're not saying it doesn't exist.
I know, but my thing is, like, I don't really know how to explain it any better than I already have, honestly.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for someone who does that experience, the duology I just mentioned with Jess the MD is actually the way to go in that case, because rather than covering specific clips or just the parts that show the medical stuff, it was the majority of the episode.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Now you've successfully tangented for a long time, more than I was intending to. Let's go back to Truman's motivations.
And why, when she seemed to finally be on top?
I got to remember every time I mention a pop culture thing, you or Aiden was going to jump on that and make a whole opinion piece about it.
To finally be on top, did she disappear into the night?
With Silas dead and Truman vanished, we'll probably never know the answers to these questions. We like to believe that...
I guess we know what happens to Truman in the episode, unless they're lying about this.
But yeah, we'll never know.
We're always panning for precious nuggets of story that we can build from. And more often than not, we end up with a lot of dirty river rocks. But as we press forward, the water from the stream washes away the sediment, sometimes revealing a glimmer beneath the grime. We now had the clarity to see what had been buried just below the surface in Connor Creek this whole time. Paranoia and prejudice. Fear was the real monster, waiting to rear its ugly, fanged head at the first sign of a threat.
Hello, friendy wins.
First sign of a threat.
No, wrong universe. This one's the Spies Are Forever universe.
No, yeah, true. But Chimera doesn't have a face, so...
true.
Ironically enough, yeah.
And we all know how the town reacted when faced with their own fears. It didn't matter that the werewolf wasn't real. They still turned on one another, nearly destroying the community they were so desperately trying to protect. Sitting here weeks later, in the comfort of APN headquarters, I'm still digesting the events that went down in Connor Creek.
Over the course of 1 week, we had witnessed 8 deaths.
The mining executive, Silas Torson.
Husband and wife, Cliff and Rocky, and their teenage daughter, Jewel.
Barney Fletcher, the dino egg enthusiast.
Odie Doty, the mailman.
Prism, the town mystic.
And our initial source.
The man who started it all, Ryan Reynolds.
Why they had to die was a question that would never get answered, and that was frustrating to accept. So we were left searching for some kind of silver lining in all of this.
Was that another silver
lining in all of this?
During the post-production process of Wayward Guide, I've spent...
Oh, wait a second. You know what pop reference I can actually make here that won't cause a tangent? Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The way that they mention the deaths of people in every first time they listen to Potter Watch at the beginning of the day. Before they say next before they get onto the rest of the program and say next password and such. There you go.
Wait, now who gave you permission to cheat the system like that?
I grant it to myself.
Hours and hours at my desk, racking my brain.
I am the Senate.
So let's talk about Star Wars. No, I'm kidding.
All the while, absent-mindedly playing with the silver keychain that Ryan gave me. It's a soothing distraction, and one of the only souvenirs I have to remind me of Connor Creek.
The irony of it being silver as well.
Good enough.
Ryan had sent it to us nestled in an edible arrangement. I almost choked on it.
Attached to the keychain is a key. Always the paranoid type, and turns out for good reason, Ryan had sent us a lockbox of documents a week after the edible arrangement.
At the beginning of our investigation, the collection of odds and ends in the box didn't really help us much. It all seemed pretty random. But after spending time in Connor Creek, we now saw the contents in a different light. It was a box of memories. A worn photo from when Aubrey won the Founders Day pie eating contest. A newspaper clipping from when Prism correctly predicted their annual snowfall. The minutes from the mayor's...
Hold on. Prism correctly predicted their annual snowfall.
Well, maybe they made it as like it happens once a year, not necessarily the same time of year.
You would have to think. This definitely sounds like some Aunt Wu leaps in logic, but you know.
The minutes from the mayor's
Okay,
novel
hold
address-
on. To be fair, you say
And here we
that
go.
Aunt Wu's logic for most of the time was pretty like
I meant more the town's response to her.
oh sure. Yeah, let's say like there's definitely something up with Aunt Wu.
Yeah.
to the town. Snippets of happier times for Connor Creek.
There was also a scrap of paper on which Ryan had jotted down some thoughts on his platform for town council. We only had limited interactions with Ryan before his passing, so our first impression of him was fairly one-dimensional. Revisiting his thoughts revealed a simple wisdom that we had initially overlooked. Ryan Reynolds for Connor Creek Town Council. Don't undermine our town.
Folks who haven't spent much time in Connor Creek, they may believe that there isn't much
Nice
to it.
effect.
It's just a town.
I mean, yeah, well, this is. I would say there's a classic technique when reading something out, directly to the person's voice. Although how they got this is, I guess it's a poor mic quality, so maybe he recorded it himself somewhere.
They're
I don't know.
wrong, you know. We may not
I
be
have
rich
to
and
assume this town has been recorded at some point. This place, I mean, the series takes place in modern day. People have phones.
Well, I mean, that's kind of dubious in terms of these townsfolk specifically. You would think if they use phones on the regular, at least one or two of them would have tried to record the werewolf at some point, and they probably would have realized they were hallucinating a lot sooner.
old, but we are rich in spirit. The people here don't just.
In fact, you know what? That's probably why Artemis and Paul had to be podcasters, so they couldn't get any visual stuff, only audio.
Good. They want to be good enough. Well, how good is enough? Who's to say? And that's the beauty of it all. It's an ongoing.
It does
ever-reaching
interesting,
goal.
actually, that the inn was the idea of like mass paranoia, and like the attack on the senses, as we've previously pointed out, and the way that you experience this show senses.
Sorry, you cut out when you said we experienced the show, and it blanked to the word senses.
Or sorry, two different senses in general. One is auditory, the other is visual.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's the sense of you had to be there to know what really went on, supposedly.
And that's the beauty of it all. It's an ongoing, ever-reaching goal. It's never quite achievable. We're constantly asking ourselves to redefine what it means to be a Connor Creek. Now, some may say that's a foolish notion to have dreams that are out of reach, but isn't that the whole point of progress? That you can never reach the finish line because, well, there isn't one at all. Progress means different things to different
Yes,
folks.
and that is arguably also a bad thing.
Yeah. Progress for the sake of progress.
Which isn't a statement I would have... Yeah, like the idea of me saying progress is maybe not all that great is...
I think it cut out again. We will find out BB's thoughts on progress after these messages, and by that I mean the audio.
Sources for personal gain. Some others it means sacrificing the character of our entire beloved community for the
Fuck you and the internet and this goddamn computer. Alright, look. I said...
I am a woman! I want my voice will be heard!
Real. That's me.
Like Zoom classes.
I don't
should
know
be a lot less
why.
happy.
My computer was working fine for almost all of the day until this fucking stream. I don't know why. It could have broke at any other point in the day and it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
But no, I was saying that like give it maybe 2 years ago, I would have never dreamed of saying that progress is maybe just a bad thing sometimes.
Well, it's like
But-
everything. There's good and bad stuff to both, to most stuff in life.
Yeah, but I never dreamed that we would hit the point that we see in like movies, you know?
I mean, as far as like Adam has said here, you have to go a good 3-act structure sometimes.
Yeah. I want to get off this movie.
Also, apparently, Aiden's at a restaurant. Apparently, Aiden's at a restaurant right now, so he got out of this at least this audio visual content, movie or otherwise, for the time.
Oh,
being.
dude, I got a bunch of pizza, so I'm all set. My restaurant is my home.
I mean, that's great. I definitely cannot account for that, Dominic, due to the face cam and just generally pausing and unpausing.
Yeah. That's okay. You don't want my food anyways. It literally has carnivore in the name.
Oh, yeah.
It means valuing capital and property over the lives and dignity of our neighbors. But that
no, it's not a
restaurant.
restaurant. Is that a restaurant?
Good enough
I also heard rested the first
Now,
time, but I thought it was
the
just Jacob getting robotic again.
Again?
Oh yeah,
So,
a good chunk of the stream you keep on going off, but that is very much a thing on my end. I know for a goddamn fact you're fine for the others.
It's never settled, getting tossed around a lot lately. And on the surface, yes, my opponent's slogan implies progress. It appears to share the pursuit of that which is never quite achievable. But it's
question, is this all written down? Is there's like one a massive letter with its script?
But it's also
it has to be
loaded with cynicism. It suggests that there's always something lacking, something to gain no matter what the cost, that our people weren't even good enough to begin with. But I know, from living in Connor Creek my entire life, that the people here are extra special. So sure, Miss Hensley, let's move forward together, let's do it.
See,
while
Vaughn,
keeping
you
our
joke
collective interests
where
in heart.
we're like, oh, where's Aiden? Oh, he got arrested. We're bailing him out later. You joke. There was one time that I remember I genuinely felt awful for doing a bit because I took it a step too far. It was essentially me just like stealing one of Schlatt's bits because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world at the time. And I still think it's quite funny, but only because of the way it
I didn't know
turned
where
out.
it came from. I didn't know it was from Schlatt's, but that makes more sense now.
Yeah, and essentially he like called up a friend or whatever and was like, "Hey, I'm in jail or whatever." And so I thought Jacob would be like aware enough to know that like I'm not gonna be able to message in a YouTube stream chat if I were taken away by the popo, That assumption was not how that played out.
I don't know. I assumed you couldn't get banned from a state over the internet. You proved me wrong in that regard too. And I think that had happened fairly recently at the time as well.
Probably. It's just not so much worry now because again it was so recent then, but
we may not have big industry, sensible street names, or the latest Palm Pilot, but we have one another.
But no, I felt bad because he ended up ending
other...
stream like genuinely worried. I was like, whoops. That wasn't the goal.
Each other's backs, well, that'll always be enough.
Even when it's not obvious at first, life's tragedies can have a silver lining.
I think it's because I also knew that, out of like kind of thing like that your family members, you would probably be hesitant to do so as well. But yeah.
Closer and try a different perspective before it'll catch the light.
I have some family members I trust, just not.
You hadn't talked to me about them at the time.
Oh no, I've always like my siblings, especially my siblings. I would argue were the ones that raised me for most of my life.
But knowing what I know now also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love my brother and sister. They're great.
But yeah, I don't remember when you started like recounting positive family experiences. So that's another.
That's
thing
fair. I have a lot of really bad life experiences I can talk about, but no, I do have good ones. Most of my personality is from my siblings.
Okay. That's fair. It's better than absorbing any other personality. So yeah.
Idealism doesn't make the murder of him or his neighbors any less difficult.
Don't forget your two rat children. How could I ever? I had to order food for them earlier today.
Yeah, but we're talking about years ago. The rat children weren't around at the time.
Also true.
Yeah.
But no, Splinter was an asshole last night. I cleaned their enclosure. I put them back in. It was fantastic. All was well. I knew I didn't have much food left, but I wanted to see, I poured in some more food for their bowl, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. I actually have enough for a whole bowl. So I don't have to get food for at least a few more days. And then, like, a minute later, Splinter decided he was in the mood to shove his bowl off the ledge. And I was like, well, what the fuck was that for?
I thought you were going to say he was going to do like he's going to do like a Squidward feeding Gary situation where, like all happens all at the same day, just like just ingest it all at once.
Future of Connor Creek.
No,
we only saw
I gave him the
town
rest of his food and he just threw it onto the ground. I'm like, what the hell?
They were at their worst. Ryan saw what they were capable of at their best.
This story might not have the neat and tidy ending we imagined it would, but the events in Connor Creek have irrevocably changed the two of us. And our journey all started by stopping to consider this keychain from Ryan.
I have so much to say about that entire line, but that would cost hours to talk about. But just to put it quite simply, she's oversimplified that greatly. There's so many avenues to go on explaining that one.
Sometimes that's all you need to say. Much like your version of Scooby-Doo, you sometimes get a little bit too long-winded with your explanations, depending on the situation.
And often overlooked.
Honestly, every time that Scooby says, "Let me tell you a story," I just think,
he's so good. Look, man, he's an old man. What can I say?
Yeah, it works.
Made of a
that's one of the things that I do, at least intentionally sometimes, because he's an old bastard. He's gonna have a bunch of random ass stories.
Alloy. Because, as we've learned, silver is rarely found alone. When combined with other metals, it's stronger together, just like the cozy little mountain town it came from. And for now, that's good enough.
That was a nice line at the end. Although there is an epilogue, so, I say the same thing I say in terms of Gotcha review yesterday on the main channel, actually. Seemed like an unnecessary sequel, but I'm sure it will make sense.
Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye.
Yeah.
Starring
Okay, it's wonderful.
Miles.
Suggested we watch the epilogue after the visual episode.
No, I know. I've already read those comments. Yeah, and I was planning to do that anyway. Actually, I thought that would make the most sense. I wanted to go to the epilogue now. I was going to because but yeah. But I thought there's on this chapter, it does make me consider what exactly if they are omitting, if anything. But it did at the start. The whole LSD aspect hasn't been revealed yet. If it is indeed the truth, it could be something that they made up to have something credible, basically, or it could not. That's so. I guess reserving judgment on in that aspect. Yeah, it does reign true that I guess. I'm not someone who listens to true crime, but obviously, I think people go into true crime podcasts, particularly with the knowledge that things do not turn out well. So, I guess, yeah, but obviously this is not exactly like that, but in terms of it's trying to mimic something that was being reported on based on real events or real events to them, obviously. So, yeah, it could have turned out this way. So.
I mean, I don't know what it's like in the podcast scene specifically for true crime, but I know for television, a lot of it is like it turns out well in the sense of like the person who did the awful acts got like punished.
Okay, yeah. I mean, still people in a lot of cases, people still died, kind of like in here.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess bittersweet would be would be that, which is kind of what we've got here. That's essentially, fair. Yeah.
A
nice a nice bittersweet ending. That's not the actual ending. We'll get to the ending after the other ending. So here we go, moving on to the final companion episode. Let's see if there are any other werewolves or if it's all just LSD in the end. Without further ado, on with the review. Oh wait, hold on. Hold on, I forgot this. I scrolled through because I didn't pause it in time. Here we go. One shot, 2 shots in the.
Can someone make us a Wayward Guide compilation, but it's just interjected with like bits of the Spies Are Forever soundtrack?
That was Tony Musical Batman, but you know, Spies Are Forever would also work in some aspects. I think to be honest, like, you know, the Coldest Goodbye song, particularly that's sang by Mary Kate Wiles, is actually probably one that could be like a good, like, you know, background. Well, now you say that, you know, a Butter Bunch side project we could do at some point is what if Wayward Guide were a musical?
Sorry, all you Dragon Ball fans, we're gonna do a new What If.
I thought you were talking about how I said that we could do like a Dragon Ball inspired musical in the style of Nightmare Time, because obviously, you know, our format is somewhat similar to how they did Nightmare Time.
The town is divided.
Yeah, that's it.
Limb from limb.
That's assuming he can't de-transform, I suppose. By the way, this right here is the shot that they usually give. I know in Spanish it's called un plano cenital. I forgot. I think it's just called bird's eye in English cinematography. And yeah, its most common use is for dead characters, you know, panning up and zooming away, because it's implied that their spirit is ascending to the heavens.
Madison, you did it.
Yeah, bird's eye isn't too different than a Dutch angle as well. They're kind of related in that sense.
I thought Dutch angle was supposedly, you know, like tilted, you know.
It is, but whenever you're doing the bird's eye, it can also be tilted theoretically, because all a bird's eye is that it's how it sounds. So you're meant to be looking like from above, and you're looking down, so everything's kind of like a flat thing. It's used a lot in like theater blueprints. So theoretically it could be tilted, but.
So you're saying you could pair it up with a Dutch angle. The way you said before, it kind of seemed like the two were interchangeable, which is not what I was suggesting.
You're gonna tell me everything right now.
Valid. Oh, I forgot to mention. I think the cliffhanger from last time was, you know, who did she shoot because they're in the middle of a fight. So she shot the I guess the intended person. I was gonna say the right person. She shot the intended person.
Before the Connors and the McMahons settled here 150 years ago, we were nomads, traveling from town to town. Our curse prevented us from staying in one place for too long. We were beholden to the moon, and easily exposed.
And then you found Connor Creek.
And not a moment too soon. The abnormal effects of the silver mines made it so that we could control our powers and live amongst the humans who had joined our settlement over the years.
Which suggests that silver is actually good for them after all.
They were none the wiser. We were searching for a cure.
Nick, like, just like asleep, is like, you want to use my headquarters? Sure, okay. Oh look, it's a werewolf.
He already knows all the lore.
But we found a home.
The place.
You mean
No podcast equipment. I guess this is a police interview, so they probably can't record it in the same way they would normally.
Connor Creek was established on a lie. And this entire time we've been cohabitating with...
You know, other than the genetic anomaly that causes us to turn into vicious carnivorous beasts, we're really quite similar, you and me.
We're not so different, you and I.
You see, my family, the Connors, enjoyed life with the humans. It was simple and fulfilling. But the McMahon clan had a different idea about how to govern the town. They just killed off and scared villagers to exert their dominance over the town, and we Connors weren't going to stand for that.
And that's when the werewolf wars began.
Well, sort of. There was fighting in shadows, unbeknownst to our human friends. Lives were lost on both sides, but eventually the Connors defeated the McMahons.
Hold on, I'm gonna say human friends. Did the humans not notice people just disappearing in the town?
Banished them from the town, never to be heard from again.
Until today. Our clan never quite reestablished control after all the fighting. It left us weak. Connor Creek moves forward.
Well, I guess you did still, you know, elect a canine as mayor. So I guess you know you take the victories in some cases.
Forward, and we've been struggling to catch up ever since.
Well, as we say in Connor Creek, that is good enough. I'll call off the task force, but I'm not sure
Oh, they're emphasizing it a lot more
how
now.
long we can keep this covered up.
Although she is Ryan's sister, so.
I mean, shit. How have you guys kept it a secret for this long?
Artie, memory is a foggy thing. Plus, I ripped out these pages.
Mm-hmm. That does explain the missing pages in the book from before. Although why he had them on his person is another question.
We need to talk about the podcast.
Whoa.
Twin Tuition.
That was the best one we've had in a while. You go first.
All right. We can't reveal their secret. At least we both agree on that, right?
Yes.
Artemis, these are people's lives.
I said I agree.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to admit that if we did spill the beans, we would be at the forefront of the most incredible discovery of all time.
Artie?
And the whole podcast was meant to be about, you know, uncovering the truth in the first place.
I will eat you.
I'm kidding. I just wanted to acknowledge it out loud. Once.
All right, well, leave the jokes to me, okay? Let's get out.
Appalling jokes, of course.
Yeah.
Hey, you want us to leave the lights on, Dr. Edwards? This is fine.
I mean, you have sunlight coming in from two separate directions. You probably should turn the lights off to save electricity regardless. There's no point to having them on.
Well, can't say it's been a pleasure. But this trip certainly has been an eventful one, hasn't it? Speaking of trips, Madison told me that Truman character was poisoned in the water supply with LSD.
Oh, so it was Madison who came up with the idea. All right.
Which explains these crazy hallucinations we've been having about these wolves, you know? Can you believe it? We were literally scared to death. But to be honest with y'all,
Well, some of you were. Oh, look, there's two extras in the background. You see this? I wonder if they're actually extras, they're just walking across the set, just randomly.
quite taken with the experience. Now we'll be experimenting with psychedelics in the future. Well then! All right, here are your bus tickets back to La La Land. You will be missed.
Wait, bus tickets?
Yes, about that. We forgot your vehicle in the woods, and last we checked, a family of raccoons did in fact make it their home, so we just want to respect that ecosystem and let it be for now.
It's not their call to make, I guess, but
This feels like whenever you're in a Marvel piece of media and the Hulk just recently went on a rampage.
you do have to wonder if in Marvel or DC or anything they just have like hero insurance or something like that, or villain insurance in general.
LSD? That was the best you could come up with?
Hey, it's working so far. We're simple folk.
Well, most of us are.
Right, because some of us are werewolves.
So I guess this is goodbye. Thank you for the hospitality. And for allowing us to tell your story. And for saving our lives.
Anytime.
We are eternally
Happy to
grateful.
have made some friends in the process.
A good way to thank us would be by keeping all this little hush-hush.
How do you mean?
I can't tell you how to write your radio play, but I do trust that you'll make the best decision when it comes to what parts you leave out.
And they did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, if this had been like any other episode with Desmond, that line would have been like delivered as a threat just based on like his creepy facade, but now It's much more relaxed. It's like, okay, you know, like it's more of a request than a you know, I will eat you if you don't.
Okay, like the werewolf parts.
Shh. Come on.
I'm sorry.
I think Paul even did mention werewolves at one point during being a werewolf in the actual podcast, but it came off more as a metaphor. So yeah, kind of got with
Thank you.
Artemis, thank you for your service. Paul, I brought you something. It's a snack for the ride home.
Raw meat? How did you... Oh my god. Have you been one of them the whole time?
The whole time.
I guess, you know, he is the butcher, so... Right.
Oh my god.
You might want to lower your voices a little bit. I understand you're happy, but, you know, the townsfolk are about. I do wonder how Paul is going to, like, endure this, like, life-changing experience, you know, after this point.
I wonder if crows have like an evolutionary bound friendship with like canines, because it's not just wolves; they treat dogs the same way. Do werewolves also have like do they have a crow buddy out there named Bob and they're just pals with him, or?
We haven't seen any crows around. Maybe although I think there's a vice mayor that's a crow. Like, that would actually that would track. Yeah, that's my headcanon.
Hey, how about one of those famous dead canary dishes to go?
Nope. Bye.
Okay.
Well, guess you have the raw meat to. Good luck, Artemis. Enjoy salmonella.
All right. Well, shall we?
Sure.
Surely Artemis knows how to cook.
Is she going to be able to cook it on a bus on the way back, which was the intention behind the meat?
Hungry.
Oh, the meat can wait until it gets home.
Oh yeah, sure. She'll be cooking rotten meat in that case, compared to just
It'll
raw.
only be a couple hours.
A little help. Man, I'm starting to think maybe I should just stay here.
Yeah.
What? Stay here?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like one of them now.
Oh, jeez. Don't you miss, like, food?
I think they are like instant. They're like enthusiastically waving, but they also like get out of here quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think I
And,
should-
like, people?
Well, these are people.
Well, I'm looking at the numbers here and I'm pretty pissed.
Yeah, that chart does seem. Wait, hold on. The chart looked like it was actually like declining. But the thing is that from his perspective, it was the other way around. So the number should actually be increasing. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, the thing is, what we were seeing was the back side of the page. I have to question the layout of that paper.
Mm-hmm.
From too much champagne! This is a celebration!
Oh, okay. He had it all himself, didn't he, Precious?
You want some? 50 million listens in a month! It is official. The way
That is impressive for radio numbers at all in this day and age.
Do you think that's true? Like, because they were releasing the podcast episodes alongside. Do you think they threw in the actual numbers?
50 million? I don't think so. Like, I'll scroll up now. Okay, yeah. I mean, the epilogue, because I have the tab open. 2.9 thousand. The prologue, which is, you know, I would assume would be one of the most watched, just based on like where it is in the timeline. That's how people watch consume media. Yeah, 14,000. Chapter 1,
Oh, okay.
7.4. Yeah, no, they did not reach 50 million with this.
Damn, they're not getting the Markiplier numbers.
If there is anything that there would like net, you know, the people involved in this 50 million, it probably would be one of the musicals.
Untrained Eye Season 2 is a hit! A hit! God, I love it. God, it's a hit. Some congratulations are in order for the Shue-Horyns twins.
You know, that is the most radio DJ thing to do. You know, celebrate with a sound effect.
You know,
I remember
GT
that-
Live recently invested in a soundboard, and so for the last few weeks, they've just been having a blast with it. You cannot go a single video or stream now without hearing multiple sounds, including usually chicken jockey.
That's just Sam's remote from iCarly. I mean, you know, that's
It's true. At this point, yes.
Yeah, no, although, you know, I prefer like a variety of sound effects if someone's going to go down that direction compared to, I will never forget this. Does anyone remember Big Shaq from 2017? Because that's when he started like majorly trending. It's the one to like the "Man's Not Hot" rap song. You know, 2 + 2 is 4 - 1 - there's 3 quick maths. That one, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So at the time in 2017, I actually my brother discovered some of like the accounts like either reporting on him or ones that Michael Dapper, you know, the guy who played him in the first place, like made, or just like clips and whatnot, and it just showed me that this guy was like making waves a little bit, and it wasn't entirely clear at first just how far the character would go, how far he was a character in the first place at that point, and so I covered like a little bit of that. Ironically enough. I actually caught Big Shaq on a lie. And Genius Notes, he said that he just improvised on the track and made that up. No, he didn't. He had it prepared before. But yeah, the second video I did was actually one where I covered like the actual event where like that song blew up. You know, the Fire in the Booth featuring was with the radio show that Charlie Sloth hosts. And on that one, it turns out that he has a habit of just pressing the same sound effect over and over again of police sirens. So I had a siren counter that kept on going. Even if I cut specific parts of the video, I made sure to account if I had actually missed out any of them. Got to like 14 before I even started actually singing in the first place. And now I am going to quickly blow my nose because I was telling my story. I noticed myself I was actually clogging up, so I'm going to stop talking for a second.
Fair. No, I will say. GT Live agrees with Jacob. They do more than just chicken jockey. That's just the one that they keep consistently. It's just the favorite on the channel. I don't know what to tell you. But no, they've switched them out like twice now. They had the original set, then they went and like had Ash like just record a bunch of random lines that she just had off the dome and threw those in, and then recently they went to like a free sound website and just added those on.
Yeah, that's fair. I technically have a soundboard that I just never programmed any buttons into. That's part of like what comes with the interface that I've used it to record for like a year. It's like just never bothered with programming anything. I wonder what I actually should put on there, to be honest. Anyway. They should have taken him up on some of that champagne, if only for his sake.
How about
Sirens, sirens,
Yeah,
sirens.
we figured you might have an opinion.
No, I love it. And the listeners love it. Who knew that ambiguity was so in right now? I mean, it's the ending everyone
Well, I mean, again, true crime, I suppose.
wanted. No ending. What happened? Did Silas kill all those people? And why did the politician drug the entire town?
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. But you guys know what really happened.
Oh, no.
You know?
No.
But you'd tell me if you did, right?
Well, hey, you know what? If your boss is invested in the story and wants more, then that's that shows you're onto something.
Sure.
Oh, hey, if there's anything left in the budget, maybe
I guess another champagne bottle behind him, implying there are more just littered around the room.
we could go back for a follow-up?
Yeah, about that. There are some pretty massive discrepancies in your expense report. For example, there are a number of unpaid tickets in the city of Connor Creek, and the company car hasn't been returned.
Just roll it into our season 3.
So they essentially, they essentially forgot the vehicle in the forest, but they still wrote tickets. Did Madison do that? That sounds
Rebudget.
There it is. Good idea. I will definitely do that if you guys can.
I think those are separate things. From the sounds of it, they had tickets, and they lost the company car and it never got returned. Not that they got tickets for the company not being returned.
Well, what other reason would they get a ticket in there if not for parking purposes?
I assume whenever they were driving around, maybe they parked in like the wrong parking spot. Maybe they went over the speed limit at some point.
We only saw them use the car once, and that was like when it broke down and Madison had to take them to Connor Creek in the first place. That's why they went to the raccoons. The car has been stationary this whole time, implicitly.
Implicitly. That doesn't mean that it has been, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my bad. The raccoons drove it around.
Did not have the job?
True.
We assumed after all the positive.
They went to go visit their buddy. Fuck. What was the squirrel's name from Hatchetfield?
Peanuts.
Peanuts. They went to go visit their buddy Peanuts.
Where you went wrong.
Rodent party.
And when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
Okay. As much as I hear that phrase all the time, I do like when people like mess it up on purpose. They do it in Dragon Ball Z Abridged as well.
Crazy millennials. So entitled. Can you hear me, please? Thanks. Great. Okay. I got a pitch for you guys. Find a new set of twins. Interview them. Maybe they're evil. Ooh, I like that. Wayward Guide Season 3, Attack of the Twins.
But you haven't done Season 2. Oh, no, this was Season 2. Never mind, sorry.
Yeah. And if they bring
This
you
is
guys
such
back, it
a
could be Attack of the,
thoroughly
two
original
twins.
plot line.
Of course, it's a very much a case of, hey, the truth ambiguity is so in right now. Let's fake the rest of it.
It's getting better. Okay, I like the direction this is going, the twins, so let's tease that out a bit. No, you know what? It's not your job. Rebecca!
Is he having just a pitch meeting with himself with all the voices?
I need a list of fraternal twins! I'll be on the balcony!
And what's the attack going to be? I wouldn't go out on the balcony in that state.
All that work, not even a guarantee of a next season. Why do we do this?
Hey, well, I could always raise an army of wolves and then take back Connor Creek for the McMahons.
I don't think you have enough cachet to do that, but it's a nice thought.
Oh, that's so dumb, Paul.
Hey, don't make fun of my family.
Honestly, I had a feeling this might happen, so I put together a small list of potential pitches.
Oh, good, a list.
Commercial fishermen in New England found what they think is a mermaid in their nets, or...
Yes, do that. I have no biases whatsoever, but obviously not. Yeah, clearly do that.
Large humanoid tracks have started to appear in the mountainous regions of North Dakota, but also some Louisiana trappers believe they've found a portal to hell.
What? Wait, are you
Oh, there's two doors, not one. We know that.
for real right now?
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Thank you. Next, a girl has made friends with a ghost dog in Oakland, California.
The boss never returned, by the way. Like they don't continue this pitching session. He's not coming back. He might
off the balcony.
Yeah, I know.
And apparently, a boy from Kansas City is what appears to be Benjamin Buttoning. There has been some. Oh, this would be international, so this would be fun.
International. Oh, okay. Did Tatiana tip you off? Actually, Tatiana might not be alive on this point. I don't know. Maybe, probably. She might be. she might be senile. Well, there you go. The end of Wayward Guide, and we get a little bit more of the truth behind it. So now I can go back and talk about judgment that I reserved earlier. Let's bring that back. Okay. So they did roll with the LSD thing, which, like I said before, it does kind of track, and people have used that. Again, Life of Pi in that situation. It's been used to a successful degree, BBC Sherlock, etc. So that there was some precedent for it. It wasn't just like a random, or maybe it was the random thing that Madison or Desmond came up with, but it worked basically. But yeah, I guess in this context, for the sake of the greater good, with what was good enough, sure, okay, that's fair. Kind of matches up with the rest of the ethos of this. Yeah, does seem to be a shame that the boss didn't seem to clock onto you know, the I was gonna say the gold mine that he had under him, but I guess silver mine would be more appropriate. I do wonder actually, as what happened from this point in both cases in Connor Creek. Was there, you know, did they ever receive any communications with any updates? Because sometimes that happens on these programs. That people will send them updates. Although then again, they want to get rid of them, so maybe they didn't care, to be honest, or they didn't have the means, unlike Ryan. But yeah, I just mean in case of, like, you know, who is, you know, town councilor now, because I guess would it fall on Madison, who was the runner-up in the campaign potentially, or I don't know, whoever Truman chose as a vice council person, which I guess would have probably been Silas, so that would not work. I don't know. I have no idea at this point. And I guess that is where the ambiguity it ends for us as well. I mean, I guess it did. What?
Not entirely.
Oh, that's
we still
right.
have one more thing.
That is right. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about this, and I've completely neglected the existence of the epilogue, which I guess will return to the other place, and we're about to hear right now.
Epilogue. 6 months later.
I like how one of the last lines said in the actual video was, "Oh, and they believe they found a portal to hell," and not like 30 minutes later, Jacob goes, "All right, time to go back to the other place."
Mm-hmm.
Miss, this is Ax Florentine from Connor Creek giving you a call. Now, you will not believe
Speaking of communications, there you
what
go.
has happened. I've discovered that I'm a true lover of podcasts. I'm not gonna lie, when you came to town,
Okay, I'm pretty sure she said podcasts.
heck of sense what you meant, especially since you didn't even ask to meet my 12 pussycats. But after Desmond explained it all
there
to
we
me,
go.
I decided I had to check it out for myself. Young Donald helped me set up one of those computer phones, and I found your little show.
Yes, see, saying one of those computer phones definitely implies that they've not cracked mobile phone technology just yet.
Young Donald helped me set up one of those
enough.
computer phones, and I found your little show. I wish you had portrayed our town in a slightly better light, but I suppose, like I say, all press is good press. You hear that, Olive Garden? We got press! Now,
I think I mentioned this last episode, actually, about how Desmond Connor reminds me of Des O'Connor, the singer slash game host presenter from many years ago in the UK that was not revered as a good singer, and thus got made fun of a lot, but that made him more popular in return. So he was actually really more than happy with it. In fact, he appeared as a guest on the show of the two comedians that made fun of him the most on a couple of occasions, and even sang one time. That didn't sing.
should I sign up for stamps.com? That might be good to sell our Connor Creek keychains online, right? I'd rather not go to the post office anymore. Hasn't been the same since dear Odie Doty left us. May you rest in
I guess the question is who's running it now again. I'd like to know who replaced who in this case, because they didn't really have. They had basically just enough people for existing infrastructure. They're gonna go
Their
under
entire mail service just collapsed.
they're gonna end up like the cat town from Occult episode 2.
the economy, though. Oh,
We're
look
not
at me. I'm
careful.
just gabbing away. I can't stop. Now, why was I calling? Oh, yes. Shue-Horyns. Connor Creek is not.
I mean, they already got to the poisoning the water supply bit.
I missed what you said at the end there. I can't go scroll back. If anyone knows the line that you said Connor Creek is blank, then let me know.
From the American Podcasting Network, this is a special bonus episode of the Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. I'm Artemis Shue.
Which I guess we got to do because our previous boss died and couldn't prevent us from doing so.
I'm Artemis Shue-Horn.
And as always, she's
Oh,
joined by her dark.
I just realized that's a nice touch. Untrained eye has a double meaning in this case. If you're doing it from the podcast perspective, then it's because you have the LSD and all that. But inside of the live action show, it's because you don't know who's who, and so you're a little bit unsure in that sense. So regardless, it's kind of like the
the untrained eye is about guiding the eye to seeing the truth behind it, and also they didn't choose the name based on the LSD. That was the thing that very much got discovered later.
The creator did.
I'm not sure if one can train one's eye to deal with LSD or not. I have to look into that.
Sibling and
I'm sure you can get like used to LSD at some point. But also, I wasn't talking about like in universe. I mean, like whenever they made the series name, that like it might have been made with the double meaning in mind.
Maybe.
First up, we want to thank all you listeners for your overwhelming support of Wayward Guide Season 2.
Within a month, Wayward Guide Season 2 became the most downloaded show in APN history. And we were nominated for an iHeartRadio Podcast Award? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, you would think it would be named after a person, like most of those, most of the awards in question. Like the Jacobs, of course, done every year in December.
I assume that it's... I mean, it might have just been a random name, but I hear that and that makes me think of iHeartRadio. And that's like
That
a
is
radio
literally
station.
what they said.
All because of you.
And no one was more surprised than us.
Well, except maybe Leslie. He did not expect this.
He most definitely did not.
No, mostly because he died before we found out.
And while AP
He didn't expect to hit the asphalt so hard either.
and has not officially greenlit a new season of Wayward Guide, your incredible response
He was drunk, he decided to look at the view, lost his balance, and whenever he thought he was trying to push back, he ended up pulling forward.
I remember there was a scene in Forrest Gump where Jenny just randomly like stands on a balcony. And when I first watched Forrest Gump, I was 12. I did not understand that she was on drugs.
Oh.
So I did not get the implication behind why she was doing that or what state left her in that situation. I just thought like, oh, okay, she's being very daring right now, and then she will get back down quickly. Why are we focusing on this? It's like, oh, well, that's why we're focusing on this. Okay.
It's been hard for them to ignore. So thank you.
That said, we weren't quite ready to close the book on this season yet. And apparently, neither was Connor Creek.
The reason I'm reaching out to you two love bugs is to...
Wait, hold on. Actually, wait. This is 6 months later. So that implies they haven't done a season in 6 months. So yeah, maybe Leslie did survive and kind of like, held the reins a bit more. I don't know.
officially invite you back to town for a little memorial service we're holding next month to commemorate our fallen comrades.
Which took 6 to complete.
Yay!
Who
However,
committed
I
the
feel
cardinal sin?
Ah, there you go.
Partially blame you both for the nightmare hellscape that was unleashed upon our town by that monster Truman Hensley. So when they wanted to invite you, I pushed back hard. But
So maybe someone should tell the people of Connor Creek how these new computer phones actively track every conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'm sure if Chimera gets discovered, then they'll learn
town
eventually.
wants you here, and my recent experimentation with Ahuhuesca has forced me to confront my issues with resentment.
I guess podcasts and Ahuhuesca, which I'm guessing is ayahuasca.
And my recent experimentation with Ahuhuesca
Just because I know nothing about drugs doesn't mean I don't know what they're called.
has forced me to confront my issues with resentment head on. So, as they say, when you're here, you're family. Oh, I'm getting that little voice saying I gotta put in another.
As they say, okay, she's been served a couple of Olive Garden ads, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
No, neither Paul nor I have a BlackBerry. And yes, Ags did find a way to fax us the memorial.
I thought she was on a computer device.
She faxed it to them, so I guess
Memorial information.
she has a computer. She has a computer with a fax machine. I'm guessing she knew vaguely that like at a certain point, there was the BlackBerry was the most popular mobile phone, but she was off by a few years.
Which is how, 6 months after saying goodbye, we found ourselves back in that little town hidden away in the California mountains, catching up with some old friends. And don't worry, Leslie, we paid for it out of pocket.
Compared to our last visit, this was practically a vacation.
Boy, am I glad to see you guys. So happy you could fit me into your busy schedules.
Busy schedules? Yeah, we have those.
Yeah, after 6 months of inactivity.
Busy schedules? Yeah, we have those.
Donnie, this is the most chipper I've seen you ever.
I don't know if I like it.
Wow.
Also, by the way, assuming that their pay is decent, these two are loaded. If 50 million views.
Well, that's assuming that they're paid, based on the success of the podcast, not based on like the hours they put in. because then it wouldn't matter.
I would have to assume that it's based on the podcasts.
Why?
Because that's what's getting the company money. Like,
yes, it's what's getting the company money.
So then presumably that should be what they're getting. Now, that's not to say that is what they're getting, but if it's a good company, then...
We've met the boss. I don't know if it is a good company.
Rocketed in popularity.
He doesn't seem evil. He just seems a little dense.
Orders from my house, but now I've expanded and created a fulfillment center in the old Minor Mole offices.
That's great.
Can I get one of those sweet hoodies?
Of course. Anything for my benefactors. I'll get you a 10% off coupon for anything you want in the e-store.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Oh, and my business success has also connected me with thousands of potential lovers. It's on this new dating app site I'm trying called LinkedIn.
Everything looked the same. The town had...
Yeah, wait till you find out about the dating app website known as YouTube.com.
You say that. It actually did start out as a dating site. If
that was the joke. That was the joke. Yes. Unlike LinkedIn, YouTube did start out that way.
LinkedIn.
Everything looked the same, but the town had
In fact, YouTube was actually created on Valentine's Day. They knew what they were up to.
totally transformed since we last set foot there.
You know,
The
it
mood
started
was-
out as a dating app, and now it's no longer being marketed as that. And you know what? It didn't work out too well as a dating app. If you're an adult and you have a couple minor viewers, works now for you.
Jubilant. The pre-existing animosity we discovered when we first arrived seemed to have dissipated.
Wouldn't be a
following
Butter Buns
Truman-
joke without an obscenely dark BB joke.
No, I was going to make a different remark, but now I'm not going to because it's going to look terrible if I do.
Riley and Olivia met us with some breaking news.
Ever since you left town, we've been thinking, why is it that we, two lifelong best friends who own two businesses that ought to just be one business, have never talked about being partners?
Whoa, is love in the air?
Well, yeah, that's a given. A glorious domestic partnership for years. What we're actually announcing is that we're going to be business partners. Starting next
Yeah,
week,
that
we
makes
will
sense.
officially be reopening as Kirkland Tompkins Weapons and Ammunition Depot.
Kirkland Tompkins Weapons and Ammunition. Okay, that's. I was thinking, did acronym spell out anything? But it doesn't.
And Ammunition Depot.
Well, it's about time. I bet you'll cut back on a ton of overhead.
Exactly. Plus, now we'll get to spend practically every waking moment together. You'll never see us apart again because there's
Yeah, that's what happened with Ian and Anthony from Smosh. Didn't work out between the two of them.
Oh,
in that
look,
regard.
man, I've said this for years to countless voice actors that I've met at this point. It is such a common thing to get into relationships in work and shit. It's almost never a good idea.
Oh, but why? What I was gonna say, why so specific? That's because that's how circles. That makes sense then. Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of Ian Anthony specifically, like because they moved into the Smosh house together. So basically, you know, even outside of work hours, they were constantly like with each other, and it just ended up like not feeling like they're like the friendship they had built up all that time since, compared to when they reunited. What was it, like last year or 2 years ago now? I forget exactly what the timeline was. And yeah, like they started like randomly conversing about, you know, what if they did like sketches together again. They just started like pitching stuff as if, you know, no time had ever passed. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's one of those things. I think it's also interesting, you know, like, I mean, everyone gets like hyped up about, you know, like all these different groups coming together and such, you know, like obviously like Team Crafted back in the day, Team 10 like 5 years after that, and then the Hype House and all these other examples, the BAM Lounge, yada yada yada. Most of those groups don't end up doing too well when they are confined to the same space for long periods of time.
Sure, no, I mean,
here's content, but
yeah, I mean, like it's kind of the same reason why a lot of marriages fail. The fact is, like, hey, look, man, when you're hanging out and loving someone, that's fine. Whenever you're contractually obligated to do so, suddenly it becomes a whole lot less fun.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like when people like move in with each other.
That too, but like it's they're still contractually obligated to be around each other all the time. So it's still the same premise. Because you can't just up and leave a house, you know? Like there's a whole process there.
That I suppose should they be inclined to do so. Obviously, the hope is that people would that they would wait for some time, figure out if they're compatible, like possibly live together for some time before that, and then decide if they want to make that next move with a bit more confidence. But that is obviously wishful thinking in a lot of people's minds.
Sure, but like even if it doesn't work out, it's not a sign that like it's a bad relationship or anything. It's just we aren't really meant to be like humans are social creatures, but we still need alone time sometimes.
Yes, there is that. Although then again, you could have the same for family. For essentially like not like forced to live together, but obviously that's the norm. So it really does depend in that aspect.
And there's nothing I like better than shooting at crap with my Olivia. But don't you worry, our operational policies will remain the same in this new venture. We still won't require any ID or background checks to buy a gun.
And you just said that in recorded radio and probably gonna get taken down.
Or background checks to buy a gun.
Well,
as we move down Center Road,
that's not the craziest thing. There was a time where you could just buy a gun off of the Walmart shelf.
And you saying there was a time implies that this is not said time.
The town was buzzing.
No, I was around during that time though, so I can tell you right now that it's not particularly recently changed.
I see.
Not seen since Election Day. People were entering and exiting shops, stopping on the street to chat with friends, and some of them, they're even chatting with no one.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. And if there beeth any other commandment, it is this. Thou shalt come...
If there be any other... There are several other commandments.
The Lord, baby.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Ah, Miss Shue-Horyn. Not yet wed, I see.
America,
well, Paul,
indeed, baby.
To put a ring on it, as they say.
Only here can you buy a shotgun off of the toy shelf. I joke. It wasn't the toy shelf, but it's just for...
Yeah. I that was implied. Yeah.
I am more than happy to...
I do remember that when I lived in the US, I did in fact go to Walmart. It's just that obviously, somewhat conveniently, we never end up encountering that section if it did exist in the Walmart that I went to.
The nuptials.
We're not.
Forget it. How's the soul saving?
Yeah, we never got anything from it, but it was always kind of something we noticed in passing.
Fantastic. Get this. Last week I had 6 congregants and 1 baptism. And I owe it all to playing the guitar during services. I'm a cool priest now.
What? Honestly, honestly, music in like church services is a really good way to get people invested and like constantly attending.
It's also biblically required, but
Oh.
Not within churches specifically, but it is literally like there's a reason there's like a bunch of hymns and shit. Like the music is considered one of the core ways to praise God.
That is fair. Yeah. I guess I didn't account for hymns when I mentioned the effectiveness of music most of the time because those ones I will say it might
the Bible doesn't require it to be all that fancy. You can do an electric guitar if you want, just so long as it's music.
Yeah, in my limited experience with churches, it has been like almost exclusively hymns, which obviously from my theatrical background, given that they have no time to rehearse for, and you just kind of have to be like, all right, we're going to turn to this particular page, do this hymn. It's like, okay, all right. What is the tune that we are doing? I hope it is the same from this verse to the next. Otherwise, I will be lost, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Wonderful was also quoting a brief section here. Sing unto the Lord a new song, yada yada. Yeah. It here's the thing. Like a hymn is like a classical version. It doesn't necessarily require any specific type of music. It just has to be music.
Yeah. But
feel free to do a guitar riff in the name of Jesus if you want.
Absolutely.
I'm a cool priest now.
Wow, congrats, dude.
Thank you, my dude. It seems I had been going about this the wrong way.
Why do I get the impression this is kind of like Richie from Nutty Proofs Must Die? You're like, you can hit it and quit it, yo.
Going about this the wrong way. Excuse me, but I must continue to rock out with my frock out.
Decent line.
Okay,
getting the hang of it.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry.
See, he learned how to appeal to people. Maybe he didn't learn how to play the guitar for the most part, but I mean, he's still trying.
From Hail Mary to the Lord's Prayer, I must have prayed them all.
If music be the food of...
By the way, yeah. Oh, I interrupted a Shakespeare quote. My bad. Music be the food of love, play on. Giving excess with a certainly up that may sicken or so die. Anyway, what I was going to say was that I've now forgotten because I got distracted by 12th Night. Yeah. Oh, yes. That singing and playing the guitar at the same time, or playing any instrument singing at the same time, you know, like those are two parts of your brain that need to connect. And actually, there is something I remember in in drama school. There was sort of like a precedent where, like, if some people could sing and play instruments, but they took turns who was doing what because of that situation. Except for one very specific moment where it's like, okay, we're going to strum a couple of chords basically, and that's kind of it. Because that was one girl in our class who did that. Strummed a couple of chords during that time, made sure to go very slowly. The second she went, like, she kicked into high gear, everyone else started singing. She kept quiet. So, you know, and they always used to say, you know, I hate those people that can sing and play the guitar at the same time. I was like, pick one or something like that. You know, it was somewhat of an elitist view born out of jealousy, and that's why. So the priest is definitely being very ambitious right now, and yeah, has a long way to go for that reason.
Music be the food of spiritual awakening through self-acceptance, then play on.
After the residents of Connor Creek spent so long defining themselves by their differences, it was really touching to see them come into their own, proudly accepting each other's quirks.
That's the reverse of the rat episode of Misters of Occulta. I mean, they did eventually, you know, accept what would happen to them if they didn't, let's say. If anything, yeah, fear became their ruler, unlike with Connor Creek, where it was the thing ruling them, and then now it's gone. Yeah,
hey, and you know, fear is arguably a better ruler than what they had.
Mm-hmm.
Quirks.
You'll be happy to know we've continued our own investigation in your absence. It was about time you backed off and made way for the professionals.
We stopped by the flower shop to talk to Mary Jo and Alice about their new...
Oh, I guess they're not going to find out about the investigation. Okay,
filling Barney's time on the radio station.
Someone's finally bringing some sense to the airwaves. And the Ellis Files were so successful that we decided to go right ahead and green lamp a season 2.
Again, let's say green lamp. Right.
What metrics are you using to judge your success?
And also, you know, where are you having a cutoff time for the seasons? Yeah.
Why, gut feeling, of course.
You can't trust anything but your gut. Isn't that right, honey?
Oh, that's right, honey.
And Artemis trusted her gut after she contracted salmonella from eating the raw meat on the bus.
Since you're
Hey, and you know what?
here-
She's still standing.
Yeah. Speaking of still standing, a good example of someone who sings and plays all the time, Elton John.
Might as well give you a quick little
True.
taste of what's coming
And that's
up.
a fucking banger of a song, too.
Yeah, very much so. I've had this idea for a parody for years, actually, called "I'm Still Bedding," which was meant to be like a Bed Wars rendition, actually. Because at one point I thought because I had a whole list, by the way. People would probably wonder, you know, why I never did Minecraft parodies. Technically, I wrote down like several of them in 1 year. I had a plan to like enact them like a continuous story, basically. This before I knew how to even access instrumentals, so I would kind of like shot myself in the foot in that regard. It also relied on the presence of somebody else because I wasn't confident in my singing at the time. When someone else like take the reins in that regard, apart from like a few bits with me. It was a whole mess of an idea. That's where all my Minecraft parody creating energy went to, and then I kind of pivoted towards revision for exams, and that's and then AFMAL. So I guess technically Minecraft parodies would count as that.
If you still have the lyrics sitting around, I mean, you have the means to do it now. So
very true. Very true. Yeah, that's a good point. The first one's gonna need some retweaking though. Yeah. In any case, I brought that up for a reason, and I've forgotten the reason. No, it's gone. I forgot the reason I brought that up.
You started out with a parody of "I'm Still Standing" called "I'm Still Betting."
Yes, so that's when I thought, okay, well, instead of like going like the Minecraft like the full like storyline mode that I was thinking of, how about instead of that, I just do I do like parodies of Minecraft mini games because I hadn't seen any of those at the time. It's like, okay, I'll do one based on like Bed Wars potentially, and then I never greened it for myself, I suppose. So yeah, I'm still betting is I'm betting no more like.
You won't steal it.
We definitely promise.
Hey, but we could though. Bed Wars is always fun whenever we do with the gang.
That is very true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if I wrote that down and tried to like get the B-roll that I needed, because it might require like several matches to be honest, in order to like, depending on how things align. But we'll see.
That's okay. We play for multiple hours on end the few times we do sit down to play together.
Yeah, that's fair.
This season on the Ellis Files, they say that the werewolves were just an illusion. The combination of drugs and fear. But I'm not so sure. They were wrong before, so why couldn't they be wrong again?
I'm talking about you two. And you...
While the town was looking one direction.
I do like how, you know, the truth seekers trying to trying to confront like society at large, represent society at large for the small townsfolk.
One direction. Nobody realized the real threat lurking in our basements. Something far more dangerous. Far more...
I will admit, this is what I usually think of when I think of, you know, one of these conspiracy podcasts. This is what they sound like in my head.
Cunning. Far more murderous. I want to suck your blood. Ellis Files. The vampire.
I think he needs a co-host, to be honest, to pull that off, because that would have been the thing that Paul would have done in addition to Artemis. Yeah.
Vampires of Connor Creek. Do, 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 do.
And he still hasn't got a theme song. Come on.
6 months ago, I probably would have completely written Ellis off. But you know what? I'll subscribe. I should listen to more comedy podcasts. And as long as...
Most stubborn of us have the capacity to change.
Rude.
I wasn't talking about just you. Take, for instance, our visit to the Dead Canary.
Oh, this place looks so different inside. It's so much more...
refined.
Des?
We had a whole visit from Gordon Ramsay in your absence.
Refined.
Chef was not happy.
Desmond? Oh, hell yeah!
Artemis?
Were you not expecting him to be here? This is literally where he works.
Paul. The old luck was a little rough around the edges, huh?
Welcome to the new and improved Dead Canary.
I dig it, man. Tablecloth, silver.
You should have called it the Resurrected Canary.
Tablecloth, silverware. This is a date night place now.
And what are you doing out from behind the bar?
Or
it's weird to see your little...
maybe Undead Canary?
Yeah, that worked.
Running with Miss Hensley. It felt like it was time for a change. So I no longer work here. In fact, I sold the place.
To me, executive chef and owner Quinn Cassidy. Bonjour. Bienvenue. Welcome.
Actually, Chef is very happy.
I guess, yeah.
Do you have a
You know, I mean, Gordon Ramsay must have not been too hard on him after all.
Cassidy. Bonjour. Bienvenue. Welcome. Do you have a reservation?
It's bienvenue, but yeah, okay. Anyway.
Oh.
Also, that kind of reminds me of the song from Cabaret, like "Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome," like that one. Yeah, maybe a bit of musical reference in there. I don't know.
It's you two.
Hey, Quinn. We love the remodel.
You're not here to review, are you? Zagat said they were coming next week. Not that I need them when I have this beauty.
So you're not supposed to... So, okay, I don't know how many of you have ever worked in the food industry, but they don't tell you when they're coming. Because then you get to prepare.
Yeah, this is actually like the number one critique of Ofsted, which are the inspection body behind British schools. Because they do give you like a week's advance, which is of course
crazy.
And they tell you exactly what lessons they're going to actually show up for. So the teachers know exactly when things are going to happen, and so they can prepare accordingly if that is the case. Still have no idea why why they do that. Maybe it's to I pad the results or something, so people like try harder so they can like report better. I have no idea. Who's to say? And also, you know, they work on a 4-year basis, so even then you have like a vague idea in terms of what year they're gonna fall on. So I don't know. Not good.
Indeed, it is. Connor Creek is now on the culinary map. James Beard Award, here I come.
Oh, wait. Well, we got one James.
I suppose.
All around.
Oh yeah, because you called him James a couple episodes ago.
Dad.
Well, you may find this surprising, seeing as you knew me at a very transitional point in my life. But I'm actually campaigning to run for town council in the next...
See, this is what I was thinking. Who was going to take over?
The next election.
It has been 6 months. Who's been running it so far?
It looks like there's an opening for someone who wants to do some good in this town.
Or was it 6 weeks? Even if it was 6 weeks, it was still 2 months. That's still a relatively long time.
I'm proud of you.
Well, like a wise woman quoting a tweeter once said, apathy is everyone's enemy. Oh, man, that was pretty good. Just let me know when you start recording and I can say it again.
I love this for Desmond. It'll be so great to have a friend on the town council working for his community and also working for me, because I'm still contesting all the tickets from last time we were here.
Yeah, who are you contesting them with, actually? I assume you'd have to report that to the police, and you know, like, the one police officer. Anyway.
Gather round, friends. The unveiling of the Heroes of Connor Creek Monument is starting.
Hey, Donnie, shut your mouth. We're starting.
Aubrey?
Thank you, Agnes, for that, good-natured and thorough introduction. We are gathered here today to remember our neighbors, co-workers, and most importantly, our friends, who perished earlier this year during the great psychedelic werewolf disaster.
As the townsfolk assembled
What a
outside
name.
the Dead Canary, just yards from where we found Ryan dead what feels like a lifetime ago, I could see the large monument covered in tarps. Still hidden, it looked like several human-sized shapes.
I'm gonna be honest, at first I thought the mortician Rita had finally realized her taxidermy dream of embalming all the victims and putting them on display. A grotesquely gothic masterpiece.
And knowing the eccentricities of Connor Creek, that wouldn't necessarily be out of the question.
I feel like that's the other step too far for them, to be honest.
In fact, it was lovely.
And so it is with great pleasure, as the historian of this town, to not only memorialize our fallen friends with words, but also with the dedication of this silver fountain that was made possible by the hard work and generous contributions of all of you, so that their memories may live on in each of us.
I mean, gold would have been nicer, but good enough.
Let us remember
I'm guessing it's made of silver.
Barney Fletcher, Odie Dodie, the Irons family, Cliff, Rocky, and Sweet Jewel, Bethany Hurst. Wait, who was that? Oh, yes.
Prism.
Yes. Prism.
I'm guessing.
And of
Yeah.
course...
Ah, so it wasn't a real name after all. Oh, well.
Yes. Prism. And of course, Connor Creek will never forget the magnanimous Ryan Reynolds.
The fountain was beautifully designed, and the craftsmanship of the metals made it clear that this was a town that knew silver, how to shape the raw material into a work of art. It featured
Who is working it, though, is the question.
highlighting their personalities. Odie, mid-lunge with a mailbag in tow. Barney, proudly grasping his egg above his head. The Irons family posed around a single shovel like a Connor Creek American Gothic. Bethany, sitting cross-legged and
No, Prism. That's what she went by. Come on. That's what you want to be remembered as.
sitting cross-legged and levitating above the waterline. And finally, Ryan, looking like the hero we now knew him to be. With a smile on his face, hands on his hips, and his
Prism's getting literally
Birkenstock-clad
dead named. Her own
Yeah.
grave don't even got her name on it.
all of them connected as one in a somber symbol of the unity that rose from the ashes of past conflicts. After the crowd had a moment to take it in, Desmond flicked a switch on the back of the fountain, and the monument burst to life. Water came gushing out of the most surprising places. Fingers and mouths, shovels and eggs.
I'm starting to see why this wasn't made into part of there wasn't a companion epilogue. Because they didn't have the budget for this.
And eggs. The magnificent geysers.
It also would have
cascaded
screwed up the pacing.
Depends, I guess. I mean, you could argue that this also kind of messes with the pacing a little bit, considering that it's kind of the way that they tried to wrap it up before. Not that I'm
but this is a more detailed like this feels like an epilogue. Like it's not.
Yes, and theoretically, they could do something visually that could also feel like an epilogue in the same way. But they probably didn't survive stuff like this.
To make it this, but to have all these details, it would mess up the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
And if they tried to hurry through it, then maybe. But
yeah. Let's build an entire fountain and also hurry through it. No.
Choose and into the bubbling pool below.
But the waterworks didn't end there. The catharsis of the moment washed over the town square, and there wasn't a dry eye in the bunch. The animosity that plagued this town less than a year ago, it was gone, and they could now sit and collectively grieve. It was a really powerful moment.
After about a minute, a gentle embrace caught Paul and I from behind, and a friendly voice spoke in our ears.
Ryan sure would have loved this. Missed you too.
We didn't have a chance to speak to Madison much more.
No, apart from collecting her parking tickets.
The reception that evening was held at her tiny cabin, so she was fully occupied with hosting. But the small moment she shared with us at the memorial spoke volumes.
Yeah, I think she was the first one that they were kind of not sure about, so they didn't really warm up to her at first.
Our chapter in the story of Connor Creek was over.
Classic
The
storytelling.
Shue-Horyns twins that left town that day were far different than the twins who met Ryan at APN 6 months earlier.
As the town became smaller in our rear-view mirror and the long road to LA stretched out before us, our minds turned to what fun car games we could play.
Paul.
And our future. Our minds also turned to
I
what
Spy.
our
It's a
future held
classic.
in store. Future. Our minds also
I spy with my untrained eye.
turned to what our future held in store for us.
Scandal.
Adventure.
Mystery.
Mermaids.
So listeners, next time something feels off, stop and take a closer look. And if you're still unable to see the forest for the trees, don't abandon hope. All you need is a different lens, a fresh perspective, and a little help from the Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye.
Classic, yep. One last time, we'll let it play through.
TinCanBros presents.
Okay, we don't need that part. So yeah, very nice epilogue. Actually reminds me also, when I pitched Siren Story, speaking of mermaids, I suppose, to the university I was in, as the end of year performance that as there was intended to be. People who don't know, I wrote and directed a musical for my final year of university. It was meant to be a gacha series, but turned to a stage one because that's the one I had lying around for reasons, yeah. And when I pitched that, they asked me obviously what was the purpose behind it, I guess the idea of an entertaining story about sirens emerging and eating people is not cutting it. So basically, I said the moral was pay attention to our surroundings, be willing to question more, be alert because you might not be as safe as you feel that you are, which was kind of what the characters were going through. It was like, okay, all right, I will make that into a theme, and they accepted it. Honestly, with university stuff, as long as you say something with enough conviction, they will probably count that as part of your learning. So go ahead and do that. That's my advice for you. For those of you who have not already gone through that, because I realized that the Butter Bunch has a bit of an older audience compared to my main channel. So for those of you who have not gone through university yet and intend to do so, something to consider. Wayward Guide would probably approve of that message, I assume. But yeah, like I said before, this is the nice way to wrap things up, and it does like respond, does answer a couple of questions. Could a companion piece have worked along the side if they had the budget for it? Potentially. But given what we have here, this is, well, there's no other way of putting it, good enough. Anything you want to add?
Sorry, just choking down that piece of pizza. I thought you had more words.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for 50 seconds to pass. Okay, sorry, continue.
No. Just coincidence. But I really enjoyed it. I don't know. There was something especially towards the end that felt quite sincere. I liked it. I do. It felt like at quite a few bits though they were foreshadowing another season. So I have to wonder if they ever spoken on that.
I guess that's a question for the chat. I've looked into it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, or maybe it was something that was going to happen soon, and then COVID swept it off its knees, as it did for many things.
Yeah, because they definitely could not make a podcast in the middle of COVID. No, but I think the actual
podcast bit wasn't the hard part.
Yeah, I think the actual real. Oh, there's a fly around. Okay, I think the actual the season they were teasing was the in-universe Wayward Guide season 3 that they were working towards. The we didn't necessarily get to see, because then this was season 2, so it would kind of suggest also there'd be a season 1 that was less interesting that we probably would not be privy to. So for that reason, it's probably a case of they were teasing it in universe, not out of it. And it's just like some other fun ideas that could be encountered. They could continue this, to be honest. They could, uncover so many other things and have to chalk it down to LSD every single time. You never know. But I guess that's a question that remain unanswered. Much like this series, there is some level of ambiguity behind it. And that's where we draw a conclusion for right now. Without the presence of Aiden in the end, unfortunately. I guess that restaurant was, had some pretty decent food. Always far away.
Actually, on the topic of Aiden not being present, I don't know if he's gonna show up for next stream, hopefully, but as far as my presence goes, I am going to try to make it to these streams. But to be totally transparent with everyone in chat, right? I've already spoken to Butterbunch about this, including the Occulta chat. But to tell you guys, we were set to move rooms in our dorms. That wasn't unexpected. What was unexpected was that we would be switching. We would be going to a hotel nearby while our HVAC facility went and tested our rooms and all that, which means there wouldn't be any fresh air or anything. So we're being moved out, but we are still meeting our new roommates. Now, during this entire time, I've been alone. Now, there won't be much spacing, I imagine, in the hotel between me and the roommate. So I might not show up here as often, if at all, for about a month. So don't be too surprised if I don't show up. I have seen what the doubles look like here as well. They don't have much spacing, but I'm gonna speak with my roommate and kind of work on a middle ground as best I can. But at least for this next month, I wouldn't expect too much from me.
All right. I guess for me, the next couple of weeks, because I've just finished my time at the school, officially at least. I'm still going back because I've got choir rehearsals and another project from one of the classes that has overrun, basically. So, but officially, I'm starting to work out on ways to travel away and such and get my things their things away. And my parents want to come down and visit as well to attend the choir performance, but also to help move some things away. So depending on what night things fall on, I know that at one point my mum at least is going to stay over here. But I don't know if that's a stream night. I have to check to see if it correlates or not. But yeah, the next couple of weeks, I guess I was somewhat ambiguous. But again, if we're all here, then it's time for another Starkid musical. We'll have to make sure that Aiden is fully clued in that matter as well. But yeah, and of course, at some point, we're working on trying to trying to get Mr. Vicolta again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in that regard. That's probably going to be a more well, hopefully it's going to be a thing that happens much sooner compared to next Stargate musical, but we'll see. I think it's Annie next, but I have to check the order again. I know that someone's put the order out, and that's a easily searchable thing, so we shall see. But I think that's about time as well. Another nice way to celebrate like the wrapping up of not only this, but also the time at the school, etc., etc. So we'll find out. But for now, I guess I need to go and get some food because I have not had. I also have a pizza. You know, I'm gonna prepare the pizza. Why not? So yeah, I'll do that now. And with that, and in that regard, I guess please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. Let's go. I've done so already. And nope, wrong outro. That's what me liking or disliking, leaving your comments on things you might have missed out on, and we'll see you all soon enough in another Butter Bunch video. Toodle pip.
In the spirit of rats and pizza, cowabunga, dudes.